Welcome to Whiskey Adjacent, the series where I take a look at whiskey-ish type things. I'm your favorite player one, Richard. If you happen to catch last week's episode, I took a look at two of Goose Island's Bourbon County Stout beers, Chocolate Praline and Cherries Jubilee. Both of them were amazing, so of course I had to go get two more. I had their standard offering and the Heaven Hill Double Barrel Aged Beer. I'm going to give them both a pour and let you know, are these some things that you should be seeking out? So grab your controllers, pour yourself a dram, and let's get into it. In last week's video, I took a look at two of Goose Island's Bourbon County Stout beers, the Chocolate Praline and the Cherries Jubilee. Now, both of them were phenomenal, but out of those two, that Cherries Jubilee was my favorite. I really enjoyed that dark chocolate and red fruit notes. So I knew when I came across these two in the stores, I had to give them a try. Now today I have just their standard offering of their Bourbon County Stout beer, and then I happened to come across this Heaven Hill collaboration. Now I'm really excited about this one just because from reading the information online, it has some really neat things about it. It's double barrel aged. It has the higher alcohol content out of all of them. And so I'm really anxious to get into that one. But before we do, we have to get into their standard offering. Now, just to save a little bit of time, I did pull up some facts about this beer on their website. So if you're not familiar with Goose Island, it is a brewery that is located in Chicago. And every year they do a collaboration where they take used barrels, bourbon barrels, and they pour their beer into it to let it age. And it's usually released right around the Thanksgiving or early December when these come out. So in my area, we still have quite a few of those Cherry Jubilee and Chocolate Praline, as well as just the standard offering. So starting off with this one, on their website, it says the 2025 Bourbon County brand original stout was aged in a blend of freshly emptied barrels from, this is where it gets interesting, Buffalo Trace, Heaven Hill, Four Roses, and Wild Turkey. With an average aging time of 14 months, this stout delivers deeply developed flavors of fudge, vanilla, caramelized sugar, all wrapped in a rich, decadent mouthfeel. So this one is not to just be pushed off to the wayside. It still sounds amazing. So we'll go ahead and get into that. In last video, some of you reached out and asked if I had tried any of the Virginia, what is it called? Virginia Distilling Company. Apparently they did a collaboration with Goose Island as well with some of their whiskey. I have not tried that, but I do think I have a friend that's going to send me a sample so we can do a little side-by-side as well. So their standard offering, first on the nose. So this does smell very similar to those others. So the Chocolate Praline, I got a lot of just kind of, for lack of a better word, nuttiness on it. The almond smell, I think I got some like pecan out of that one. This one just smells like just chocolate deliciousness. There is that underlying sweet note, which I believe they said is going to be that vanilla. This just smells like an all-around just great stout beer. Now it does have a one of the lower proof points. I think it's 14.5, 14.8. And you'll notice that this one is smaller than some of the other bottles. I believe this one is 10 ounces. So the others are a little over 1 pint. So, all right, get in on the taste. This is just the original offering of the Bourbon County Stout beer. Cheers. All right, that's not bad. Just dark chocolate. It does have a slight bitter taste to it. It reminds me just like drinking maybe an espresso coffee. Sweet undertones, not anything overbearing. This is This is really good. Now, very thick. If you're not a stout drinker, this may not be for you, but if you don't mind having a slightly heavier beer, this is perfect. Like I said, lots of chocolate for days, sweet note to it. It does linger on the tongue. And as I mentioned in the last video, stout beers are not meant, to be chugged like you would do with maybe like a Budweiser or a Michelob or something like that. Some of those lighter ales. Stouts are meant to be just enjoyed over a long period of time. Let's get in on it one more time. This is really good, so we're off to a great start. Cheers. I'm almost getting like a raisin note to it. But like I said, just chocolate. I use the term dark chocolate because it is a little bitter. Not anything super like in your face. But it does have just the slightest bitter note to it. So I don't know if I mentioned earlier or not, but you can get these in a 4-pack. I think at the store that I purchased this one at, I paid maybe $30 for 4 of them. So 40 ounces for just their standard offering. Not too bad. The other 2 beers that I bought last week were right around the $25, $26 mark per beer. So if you don't want to get any of the super fancy ones, then this might be the way to go. All right. So next one is going to be the Heaven Hill collaboration. This one comes in a really neat can. It's kind of hard to see, but it has a neat little Goose Island logo there. And then below you have the Heaven Hill bottled in bond. Now this is a double barrel aged beer. And on the side here, it tells you that it was aged in one Heaven and Hill barrel for a year before it was then emptied and then put into a second Heaven Hill bottled and bond barrel for another year. So now this one does have a slightly higher proof point. I believe it is 17. Excuse me. Like I said, there's a lot of facts here. Hard to remember. It is coming in at 17.4. So out of all of them, the other 2 that we reviewed last week were right around 14.5, 14.8. This one is at a whopping 17.4. So I'm going to give myself a pour. Oh, very dark, just like all the other ones. I ended up, even though I popped the top on these, I did kind of secure them in my fridge and enjoyed them over several days. I know that they lost probably some of their carbonation, but hopefully that lid helped preserve a little bit. I don't traditionally drink a lot of beer, or usually drink a lot of beer. So like I said, I enjoyed these, especially with them being thicker over a couple of days. So Heaven Hill on the nose. Surprisingly, this one has a very faint nose compared to this. This one, I just get lots of chocolate, dark chocolate. You get that vanilla on the nose. This one, hang on. It's almost like a milder version of that. So there is that chocolate note that is present, almost slightly like a toasted note, but nowhere near in my face as that. So let's get it on the taste. Cheers. Okay, very similar in flavor profile. Surprisingly, a lot mellower, with that nose being lighter. On the palate, it seems to be a little bit lighter, but it definitely has some viscosity to it. It wants to just kind of coat my tongue. I don't want to say syrup, but maybe like a syrup texture to it. It is very thick. I'm not really getting a lot of flavors on it. Let me go in it again. So definitely a toasted note to it. Still that chocolate. It's a little bitter, but almost, I would say out of the two of these, this is very mellow, very light, at least as far as flavor goes. Still get lots of that chocolate and stuff. But compared to this guy, this one is very mellow. This is really enjoyable. Let me make sure. Let's see what this says I should be getting. I always like to just kind of see what the websites say to kind of help me pick out notes that maybe I'm missing. So it says toasted marshmallow, warm vanilla, and a pronounced oak finish. So I said like I got the toasted note to it. Okay, so you get the oak on the end, just a very faint vanilla, but still this drink's a lot easier, a lot milder of flavors, mellower flavors compared to just their standard offering. So this is good. And I would say of this being at 17.4 proof, I could probably drink a lot more of this than those other ones, which would mean probably a little bit of trouble for me with it going down as smoothly as it does. So definitely a great bottle. Now, this price tag on this guy, when I purchased it, was after tax a little over $40. I think it was $38.99 before tax. And I did see it at another location. I've only seen it in 2 locations in my area. This one was $38.99, and then I did see it for I think like $43.99 at the other store. So if you have some beer fans in your family that enjoy a stout, this might make a great present. They do cost a little bit more. But again, if you're spending, 30, 40, 50 bucks on a bottle of whiskey, why not try something different? Still going to get some of those bourbon notes, but it just helps step out of your comfort zone. So great all around. Out of all 4 of these that I've had, I would say that this one just squeaks out past the Cherries Jubilee. Cherries Jubilee would be next, and then I would put the chocolate praline on about the same level as the standard offering. So yeah, just great all around. I will definitely be looking for these in the future to give a try, hand out for gifts for friends around the Christmas holiday. So, all right, guys. Well, thank you again for sticking until the end. I hope that you enjoyed these videos. We're going to continue to put out more great content moving into this new year. So, all right. Thank you again for sticking to the end. I'm your favorite player, one Richard. Have a good one.